was railroaded into a sinkhole. While I count most of my experiences playing D&D as amazing ones spent with friends, there was one campaign that started off so bad, my friends, including the one who drove the train, continue to laugh about it in the years since. Our cast is me, playing an ASMR paladin, and my friend, the DM. There were 3 other players, but they barely factor into this story, save for the fact one of them was a bard. It's a secret tool that will help us later. I will also disclaim that we were all in high school when this happened, and around when 5e came out, so there's some poor behavior on both sides. I had to miss session 1 due to being out of town that weekend, but when I got the summary from the other players at session 2, it was already setting off strange vibes. Apparently, the first session saw the party do a small combat, then returning to town, only to be drugged, and then woke up 500 years later on a plantation. Session 2 started with them waking up, and my character was with them now. We were all stuck in a shed. Also stuck in the shed were 2 DMPCs, an Oni Shadow Monk and a Genesee Warlock. This is where my ASMR Paladin came in. I was the one who introduced a friend running this game to D&D, and even inspired him to DM. So while I was excited to finally be on the other side of the screen, I was worried to say the least, once the novelty of being a PC for the first time wore off. My friend had decided to do the "you wake up with no gear and amnesia" thing, and upon reflection, this basically spat on the backstories of all the players from the first session. Oof. Our first goal was unlocking the shed and fumbling around with farming equipment to do so. Was that we had to get our gear from the plantation mansion. It went by okay, though combat where you have to use a shovel instead of longsword and shield you built your character to use wasn't that fun. Once we got our gear, we had to escape the plantation by solving a really dumb puzzle to get over the magical walls that surrounded it. The puzzle was a riddle involving fruit and an anagram. DM probably found it on Reddit, to be honest. After 20 minutes of banging our heads against this puzzle, we couldn't solve it, so we just had a DMPC do it for us. Now that super cool Genesee Warlock had disabled the magical walls, we escaped into the nearby plains. The very first thing that happened after getting over the walls was that we were confronted by one of the BBEGs, a vampire queen. We couldn't fight her, of course. She's much too strong. After letting our DM monologue as the vampire queen, she then left us for dead in a giant field full of some kind of homebrew monster stalking us, like the field scene in Lost World with the velociraptors. I figured, my friend is new, it's his first campaign, it's all homebrew, it's not like I was much better when I ran my first campaign. I wanted to give my friend a chance, and I was so excited about playing my paladin, so I kept with it. Session 3 began with us fighting those homebrew monsters in the field. To my friend's credit, he was and still is one of the best at creating dynamic combats in our D&D sphere. So with this session off to a great start after the rough session 2, I was looking forward to what came next. I shouldn't have. It all went back to pain once again. With the docks of the island in sight, we immediately fell into a sinkhole, where we landed in an abandoned drow city, somehow not dead by falling damage. In the sinkhole, one of the DMPCs, the Oni Shadow Monk, said we'd have to escape via the Underdark and that we shouldn't worry, he would guide us. I didn't want to be taken on a tour of the Underdark. I wanted to play my paladin, and up to this point, I've had one enjoyable combat, a puzzle that frustrated me, a BBEG I didn't care about, and now I had to watch a DMPC lead me through a dungeon my character was yeeted into. It was at this point I was 200% done. My friend had wanted to DM because he loved playing in my campaigns, and before he ran this one, I offered him the advice of, if a player has a cool idea, you should let them do it. Thankfully, he really took this advice to heart. So I stopped the party and I said, hey guys, I have an idea. I asked the bard if he had tuning forks, and if there was a treasure in the Drow City. My friend had no clue what the F I was doing, but I'm pretty sure those of you familiar with material components in 5e can guess. We spent the next 30 real-world minutes enchanting, engraving, and bedazzling this tuning fork until it reached what my DM said was worth 250 gold. I then said, I'm going to petition my god. my DM said, bewildered from the tuning fork thing said, okay. My god showed up. I asked my god if he would let me cast plane shift to escape the sinkhole. My DM gave me a 1,000-yard stare before I just decided to read the spell aloud. I stated what it did, what its material components was, and my friend, a DM, watching his train derail in real time, with a heavy sigh, asked me to roll persuasion. I rolled high, and my god cast plane shift, and we got out of the sinkhole, straight off the railroad. The session ended then and there. Every one of the party members thought it was super epic, but my friend was clearly upset. I didn't notice, of course, since I felt like I had just won D&D, and I suppose that made me a bad friend back then. Looking back, I should have talked to my friend like an adult about it. I've grown since then, but this is a part of the story that I look back on with remorse. We were having fun at each other's expense. I didn't like his railroad, and he didn't like that I pulled that stunt. Thankfully, this didn't end with me being a terrible person, and my friend and I have a falling out. We kept playing in that campaign. My friend even ran the extra-planar adventure I saddled him with. Due to the revolving door nature of the friend group at that time, by session 8, I was the only player from the first 3 sessions still playing. We had a soft reset with a new group as stuff got retconned with a super cool time travel adventure, where my character got to alter the past and stop the vampire queen from being turned into a vampire, even getting to have a short tragic romance in the process. My friend has grown into a far better DM since then. The DMPCs were all slowly written out, all our characters got badass custom magic items, and we played in that campaign for 4 years until my friend wanted to run a new game in a new setting, which, I'm proud to report, features no amnesia, DMPCs, or sinkholes. TLDR, my friend, a new DM, runs a super railroady opening hook involving amnesia, DMPCs, bad puzzles, and a sinkhole, only to have my paladin bedazzle a tuning fork and let me cast plane shift to derail his story because I was frustrated and he was a new DM who didn't want to say no. We all know DMs suck at the beginning. It's a given. But even then, the DM allowed the OP to go with his idea, and it caused a flurry of better ideas and a better campaign, one that the DM is likely proud of. I'm happy that neither of them fought over it and didn't act like children about it like a lot of these horror stories, and they're still friends. And even though the game was derailed, which was probably not the intention of the OP, but it happened. But it did help the DM learn about being a DM better, and it caused improvement that ended up lasting over 3 years in a campaign. And at least they can look back and laugh about it rather than be angry for the way it was. But anyways, that wasn't much of a horror story. But like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time at Lisa's Dungeon.